Step 1. Pre-installation. Remove existing materials. Demolition involves the removal of any existing materials, whether it be soil, weeds, or any other substance above ground. By rough grading the area and uncovering everything underneath, including electrical wiring, irrigation, pipes, etc., we could get a solid subgrade for the project. Cap sprinklers. In this phase, we can also cap any existing sprinklers that will not be used. It is very important to cap sprinklers at the pipe level as opposed to the riser. This avoids any leakage that may occur between the two. Modify sprinklers, irrigation, or drainage. If necessary, relocate sprinklers, modify existing irrigation lines, and add any required drainage. Be sure to backfill and sand the location of any unused sprinklers to avoid depressions or low spots. When locating any underground wiring, electrical, speakers, etc., move it inward and away from any hardscape or perimeter by 6 to 8 inches. This should prevent any accidental damage when it comes time to secure the turf edge with nails. Once moved, lay all wiring on top of the subgrade surface and secure it with U-nails. Install bender board. The installation of the bender board is an important step as it provides for a clean line and separation between the planter bed and turf areas. Step 2. Base preparation. Gravel DG mix. The next step is to install the base material. This is a special mixture of gravel and sand which allows for proper drainage. Install 3 inches in depth. For a non-pet landscape installation, the base material should be installed to a depth of 3 inches. Properly distribute and level base. Proper base distribution and leveling is important in order to account for sloping away from the living areas and towards the installed drainage system. Proper base installation also ensures the turf will have a smooth, level appearance upon completion of the project. Step 3. Compacting base. Next, we wet the existing base to allow for proper settling. Compaction. Compaction is accomplished by vibrating, tamping, and rolling the gravel. This establishes a solid base in which to drive the nails while installing the turf. Any additional leveling or grading can be done at this time. Step 4. Weed retardant layer. We begin by rolling out the weed cloth. This barrier prevents any growth from coming up out from the base and into the turf. Be sure to overlap weed cloth edges by 6 inches. Secure it with as many flat head nails as necessary to prevent movement or wrinkling of the cloth when laying the turf. Trim cloth. Trim the cloth to fit the landscape area, leaving a 1/4 inch gap along the hardscape or border areas. This will allow for an easier tucking effort later on. Remember, don't drive the nails too deeply into the ground, as it will cause the weed cloth to be pulled down, creating dimples on the surface once the turf is installed. Step 5. Laying turf. When laying turf, it's beneficial to find either a straight edge or 2 perpendicular edges for alignment. Square to fit area. Square off the turf on your chosen location in order to minimize cutting and fitting on all 4 sides. Once the turf is square, secure the squared edges with temporary nails to hold it in place while holding the opposite edges. Step 6. Custom fitting turf. When trimming the turf to fit the area properly, you should overcut the turf by 1/8 of an inch along the edges. This provides the excess turf necessary for tucking. When in doubt, cut the turf fat. It can always be trimmed later on. When seaming, it is recommended to use a seaming tool like the one being used here. Once cut using the seaming tool, simply line up accordingly. Cutting the turf in an S shape avoids the possibilities of the turf pieces to push against each other at angles, which in many cases would create the illusion of discoloration in the area of the seam. Install nails every 6 inches along the edge. Install nails along the edge by placing them 6 inches apart, driving them down 3/4 of the way. Nails used in the field should be applied as necessary to prevent movement of the turf. As before, drive the nails down 3/4 of the way. When finishing the nails, separate the grass to avoid pulling down the blades with the nail. The nail is then hidden within the grass blades at the base of the mat. Don't drive the nails too deeply into the ground, as it will cause the turf to be pulled down, creating dimples on the surface. Secure seams with U-nails every 6 inches. During the seaming process, 6-inch U-nails are used to join the turf together. The 2 seams are butted up against each other with U-nails spaced 6 inches apart and driven 3/4 of the way down. The finishing process for the U-nails is the same as before. Separate the grass to avoid the blades to be pulled down with the U-nail. The U-nail is then driven to the same level as the mat and hidden within the grass blades. Step 7. Tucking turf edges. Tucking the turf involves hiding the edges of the turf against any hardscape or edging border by using a metal bar called a wonder bar. The side edges of the turf give it a good, clean, flush look. Step 8. Applying filler. In this phase, a power brush is used. The heavy bristled brush is used to pull against the grain of the grass, causing it to stand up in preparation for applying the Durafil sand. Next, apply the infill, or Durafil sand. The Durafil sand is antibacterial and not harmful to pets or children. Spread the granolas evenly throughout the turf installation. This acts as a balance to hold the blades upright and gives the turf more weight. Step 9. Final groom. The final grooming step involves power brushing the turf once again lightly to force the Durafil granules into the base of the turf for settling and optimal stability. Follow up the process to remove any excess debris and give the turf a finished look.